The void of space was silent, a silence so heavy that even the beating of a human heart felt loud inside it. A single ship drifted through the asteroid field, its lights dim, its pilot tired but curious. The human, named Daniel, was not a soldier, not a hero, only a scavenger searching for scraps of technology to sell. He had been flying for weeks without luck. His fuel was low, his supplies even lower, when his scanners picked up strange energy pulses coming from a black asteroid. He thought it was fortune at last, treasure, maybe, or forgotten alien tech. His eyes lit up with hope. The asteroid was larger than any nearby rocks. Its surface was scarred and burned, yet something about it felt alive. As Daniel guided his ship closer, the scanners grew unstable, reading massive amounts of power locked inside. He whispered to himself, "This could change everything." Finding a landing spot was difficult, but Daniel's ship managed to settle inside a narrow crack in the surface. He put on his suit and stepped out. The air was frozen and sharp, even through the filters. The silence of the asteroid pressed against him. Heavier than the silence of space, he felt watched, though no one was there. Inside the asteroid, tunnels stretched like veins, glowing faintly with old alien symbols. Daniel touched one of the walls, and it burned cold under his glove. It was not natural rock. It was built, shaped, and carved long ago, a prison perhaps, or a tomb. As he walked deeper, the glow grew brighter at last. He entered a vast chamber. In the middle stood a cage of black metal, chains running across it like spider webs. Symbols glowed faintly, holding whatever was inside. Daniel stepped closer. His breath caught when he saw her, a woman, but not a woman like he had ever seen. She was tall, her hair long and black like ink spilling in water. Her eyes glowed, faintly even while closed. Her arms and legs were bound with heavy chains that pulsed with power. She did not look dead. She looked asleep, waiting. His mind raced. Who was she? Why was she here? Was this treasure? Or was it danger? He told himself maybe the chains held her corpse. Maybe she was some kind of statue. But his gut whispered the truth. She was alive. Daniel should have turned back. He should have left the asteroid and never returned. But desperation is louder than caution. His hand moved to the chains, studying the alien lock. It was complex, but not impossible. He thought, if I take even one piece of this tech, I can sell it for a fortune. The lock reacted to his touch. Symbols shifted and light flared. One chain broke with a sound like thunder. The ground trembled. The air grew warmer. His heart pounded, but he could not stop. He worked on the second chain, then the third. When the last chain shattered, the chamber shook as if the asteroid itself screamed. The woman's eyes opened. They were not eyes like his. They glowed with endless fury and endless sorrow. Her gaze pierced him as if she could read his soul. Daniel stumbled back. "I didn't mean to," he started, but his voice failed. The woman rose slowly, stretching her arms. The chains fell away like dust. She stood taller than him, her presence filling the chamber with weight. She did not move quickly, but every gesture carried power. Her voice, when it came, was soft but sharp as a blade. "Which foe of yours shall I kill first?" The words chilled Daniel's blood. He could not move. He could not think. The silence of the void had returned, but now it pressed against him like a storm. She stepped closer, her bare feet not making a sound on the stone. She looked at him as if he were both master and prey. "You freed me," she said, "and now you must guide me. I am the hand of death. I'm the storm they feared. Speak, human, tell me, who must I first?" Daniel's mouth was dry. His mind screamed at him to run, but his body was frozen. He had freed her, and now he carried the weight of her question. The chamber around them trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The glow of the walls faded. The prison was no longer a prison. It was empty, and the universe outside was waiting. Daniel realized in that moment that his mistake was not opening the chains. His mistake was surviving long enough to hear her voice. And her voice did not ask for mercy. It asked for blood. The woman stood in the fading light of the chamber, her eyes glowing like fire trapped inside ice. Daniel could not breathe. His heart hammered against his chest. He wanted to believe this was a dream, but the cold air and heavy silence told him it was real. She looked at him for a long moment, as if weighing his worth. Her lips curved in a faint smile, but it was not the smile of kindness. It was the smile of a predator who had found something new. "You freed me," she said again, her voice carrying both sweetness and threat. "Now speak. Who must I kill first?" Daniel shook his head, his words tumbled out clumsy and broken. "I don't want anyone dead. I didn't even know what this place was." The woman tilted her head, her hair falling like dark water across her shoulders. "You lie poorly," she whispered. "Every human has enemies. Every heart hides names they would erase if they had the power." Her words cut deep, because some part of Daniel knew it was true. Faces of old rivals, betrayers, and those who had mocked him flashed in his mind. He fought to push them away. He could not let her see. She stepped closer, and Daniel realized she was not chained anymore. The power that had once bound her now swirled faintly in the air. Her presence was like a storm that could break at any moment. He wanted to run, but he knew she would catch him before he reached the door. "Who are you?" he finally asked. His voice trembled, but curiosity burned through his fear. Her eyes narrowed. "They named me Eris," she said. "A goddess to some, a demon to others. The rulers of the stars feared me more than they feared each other. They could not kill me, so they buried me here, locked in silence, until a fool's hand touched the chains." Her words echoed in the chamber. Daniel felt smaller with every breath. He realized this was no ordinary prisoner. She was a weapon shaped by terror, a being whose very existence had shaken empires. "Why were you locked away?" Daniel asked softly. "What did you do?" Eris smiled again, but there was no warmth in it. I gave them what they asked for. They wanted war. I gave them war. They wanted victory. I gave them victory, but when they realized I could not be controlled, they called me monster. They turned their fear into chains and threw me into this tomb." Her voice dropped lower, a whisper that slithered into his ears. "And now, you have freed me." Daniel swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to free you, I thought maybe this was just treasure." At this, Eris laughed. The sound was soft and haunting. It filled the chamber and made the walls tremble. "Treasure, yes, I am treasure, the kind that ends civilizations." She moved past him slowly. Her fingers brushed one of the broken chains, and the black metal turned to dust. Daniel's skin crawled. He knew she was not human, not even close. She carried the weight of centuries, and he had unleashed her into a galaxy that had forgotten her. For a moment, she stopped and looked back at him. Her gaze was sharp, almost curious. "You are not like the others," she said. "You did not command me to kill the moment I rose. You hesitate. You fear me. Yet you do not feed me blood." Daniel tried to steady his breathing. "Because killing is not the answer. I don't want power through death." Eris studied him in silence. Her eyes softened, but only slightly. "Strange human," she whispered. "Do you know what it means to carry me at your side? The galaxy will smell me the moment I step outside this stone. The hunters will come. The rulers will panic. Armies will burn to keep me chained." Her words sank into him like lead. He realized freeing her did not just endanger him. It endangered everyone. Before Daniel could reply, the asteroid shook violently. His communicator beeped with warnings. A fleet of scavenger raiders had entered the field. They had detected the energy spike when the chains broke. Now they came for plunder. Eris turned her head slowly toward the sound. Her expression sharpened. "Good," she whispered. "The universe delivers prey to me already." Daniel's chest tightened. He reached out. "Wait, don't." But she was gone before he finished the words. A blur of shadow and fire. She vanished into the tunnels. Moments later, screams echoed through the asteroid. Daniel ran after her, his footsteps clumsy. He reached the surface in time to see fire streak across the void. Eris stood on the hull of his ship without a suit. Her hair whipped like black flames. Her eyes blazed with fury. Ships around them exploded one by one, as if invisible hands crushed them. The raiders tried to fight, but their weapons did nothing. Their screams filled the comms before silence swallowed them. In less than a minute, the fleet was gone. Only burning wreckage floated in the void. Eris looked down at him from the ship. Her voice carried even through the vacuum. "You see now," she said, "I am not treasure. Am war itself. And I ask again, human, who must I kill next? Daniel felt cold even inside his suit. His mistake had just been painted across the stars. The deadliest woman in the universe was free, and she was looking at him for guidance. The wreckage of the raider fleet drifted silently in the void, twisted metal glowing faintly as fire licked across broken hulls. Daniel stood frozen inside his ship, watching the woman called Eris standing calmly on the outer hull as if she owned the darkness itself. Her body glowed faintly, untouched by vacuum, untouched by the cold of space. For Daniel, the sight was both terrifying and mesmerizing. He had seen battles before, but never like this. No weapons had touched her. No armor had protected her. She destroyed entire ships as if they were made of glass. And she had done it without hesitation, without even raising her voice. Slowly, she turned her gaze back to him. Her eyes locked on him through the cockpit glass. Her lips curved faintly. "You see, human, what your freedom has unleashed," she said. Her words reached him not through comms, not through sound, but straight into his mind. Daniel flinched, gripping the controls as if they could protect him. He had freed something beyond understanding, and she was bound to him now by nothing but choice. When Eris finally stepped inside, the airlock lights flickered. The ship itself seemed afraid of her. Daniel stumbled back as she entered the cabin, her movements slow, elegant, dangerous. "You should have left me in chains," Daniel whispered, though his voice shook. Eris tilted her head, studying him. "And yet you did not," she replied softly. "You broke my prison. You gave me breath again. That makes you mine now. Human." The word mine struck Daniel like a blade. He wanted to deny it, to shout, but his voice failed him. Instead, he sank into the pilot's chair, shaking. Moments passed in heavy silence. Then alarms rang through the cockpit. Another signal appeared on the scanners. This time not raiders, but something larger. He stared at the screen. His heart sank. A patrol fleet, carrying the banner of Orion Syndicate, one of the largest powers in the quadrant. They must have detected the same energy surge the raiders had. Now, they came not as scavengers, but as hunters. "They will not allow me to live free," Eris said calmly. Her eyes glowed faintly. "They remember me. Even if their children do not, fear lingers in their blood." Daniel's voice cracked. "If they know who you are, they'll bring more ships, whole armies, fleets. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about the galaxy." Eris stepped closer. Her hand rested lightly on the back of his chair, though the weight of it felt like iron. "Then let us test them," she whispered. "You will see, and they will remember." Before Daniel could protest, the ship shuddered. The fleet had locked weapons. Warning screamed across the panels. He reached for the controls, trying to escape, but Eris touched the console, and the lights flickered again. "Do not run," she said softly. "You freed me, now watch." The fleet opened fire. Beams of energy streaked through the void. Missiles screamed toward them. Daniel threw his arms over his head, expecting death, but it never came. Instead, Eris raised her hand. The weapon's fire froze in space. Beams locked like ribbons of light. Missiles halted mid-flight. All around them, destruction paused as if time itself obeyed her. Daniel's breath caught. His eyes widened. Then, with a single wave, the frozen weapons turned back. The fleet's own fire crashed against them. Explosions tore across the void. Ships split apart. Screams filled the comms before silence swallowed them. Daniel's hand shook. You killed them all," he whispered. His voice was barely sound, only fear. Eris lowered her hand. Her eyes burned brighter. "No, human, I saved us. Do not mistake survival for cruelty." But Daniel could not believe that. He saw a wreckage where men and women had lived, families waiting for them on distant colonies, all of it gone, wiped out in moments. Eris turned to him then, her face unreadable. "Tell me, who else do you fear? Who else must I erase for you?" Daniel's stomach twisted. He pushed himself back, shaking his head. "I don't want this. I don't want you to kill for me." Her expression darkened. For a long moment, she only stared. Her silence felt heavier than her words. Finally, she leaned closer. Her voice brushed his ear like a shadow. Then perhaps I will choose for myself. The words froze him more than the battle had. He realized then that every moment he hesitated, every time he refused to command her, she grew closer to making her own choice. And if she ever did, the galaxy would drown in blood. The void outside was silent again, but for Daniel, silence had never felt so dangerous. The wreckage of the Orion Syndicate patrol floated silently behind them, fires still burning on broken ships. Daniel stared at the scanners, unable to breathe, dozens of lives erased in seconds, and yet Eris stood calm beside him as if nothing had happened. He whispered, more to himself than to her, "The whole galaxy will know now. They'll know you are free." Eris smiled faintly. Her eyes glowed like stars burning cold. "Good. Let them know. Fear spreads faster than light." But for Daniel, it was no victory. He knew news of this massacre would reach every corner. Governments, warlords, syndicates, even the scattered colonies, all would hear the same rumor. The deadliest woman in the universe had risen again, and all would hunt her. As they drifted away from the field, the silence in the cabin grew heavier. Daniel sat at the controls, trying to think. His mind raced through possible routes, safe harbors, anything that could hide them, but he knew none of it would work for long. Finally, he spoke. "We can't keep doing this. You can't just destroy every ship that comes near us. We need allies." Eris turned her head slowly, her gaze fixed on him. "Allies," she repeated. Her tone was sharp, like the word itself was a foreign taste. "Allies are chains painted gold. They bind you until you break." Daniel met her eyes, forcing himself to stay steady. "Maybe, but alone. We'll be hunted until we're cornered. You said yourself the rulers will fear you. Fear will unite them. And when they come, even you might not be enough." The moment stretched, her expression unreadable. For the first time, Daniel thought she might strike him for daring to speak against her. But instead, she tilted her head, studying him like a puzzle. "You speak not with power," she whispered, "but with survival. Perhaps that is why you freed me. Not with strength, but with need." Before Daniel could answer, alarms lit the cockpit. Another signal appeared on the scanners, this time not a patrol, not raiders, but a large carrier ship broadcasting a message. The comms crackled to life. "Unknown vessel. We request parley." The voice said. It was calm, formal. "We are not syndicate. We are not hunters. We wish to speak with the one you freed." Daniel froze. His hand hovered over the comms. He looked at Eris. She said nothing, only stared at him with glowing eyes, waiting. He swallowed hard and opened the channel. "This is Daniel," he said cautiously. "Who are you?" The reply came quickly. "We're the Free Conclave, survivors of the wars you do not remember. We know her name, we know what she is, and we know what the rulers will do now that she is free. If you wish to live, if she wishes to walk unchained, we must talk." Eris's lips curved slightly, but it was not joy. "The Conclave still breathes," she whispered, almost to herself. "I thought them ashes." Daniel looked at her. "You know them." She nodded faintly. "Rebels, outcasts. Once they begged for my strength against the rulers. When I gave them victory, they feared me too. They vanished into the shadows. I thought they were gone forever." Her eyes sharpened, glowing brighter. "If they want to talk now, it is because they smell blood in the stars." The Conclave ship drew closer, its massive hull dwarfing Daniel's little vessel. He hesitated, fear knotting in his chest. "If we board them, it could be a trap." Eris's voice was calm, sharp. "Of course it is a trap. Every offer of alliance is. But perhaps we step into this one. Sometimes the spider's web is safer than the open air." Daniel's throat tightened. He guided the ship toward the carrier. The docking clamps locked. Metal groaned as the airlock hissed. When the doors opened, a group of armored figures waited, their weapons lowered but ready. Their leader, an older man with scars across his face, stepped forward. His eyes fell not on Daniel, but on Eris, and for a moment, even he looked afraid. "You truly are free," he said quietly. "The universe will burn." Eris stepped past Daniel, her presence filling the docking bay like fire. She looked at the man with calm indifference. "The universe always burns," she said. "The only question is who holds the torch." Daniel's chest tightened at her words. He realized that this meeting, this so-called alliance, would not be about safety, it would be about control. Every faction would want to bind her, to aim her power at their enemies. And he knew one mistake, one wrong word, and Eris would turn this entire ship into ash. The man spoke again. We offer you sanctuary, but in return, we ask for your strength. The rulers will gather fleets to cage you once more. We cannot face them alone. Daniel glanced at Eris, praying she would not answer in blood. Her lips curved into a smile, slow and dangerous. Perhaps, she said softly, perhaps we burn together. Daniel's heart sank. He knew then that whatever alliance was formed here, it would be built on fire. The corridors of the conclave ship were dim, lit by strips of blue light that hummed softly. Daniel walked with unease, his steps echoing. Behind him, Eris moved like a shadow, silent, her presence filling the air heavier than gravity itself. The conclave members kept their distance. They had offered food, water, fuel, even shelter, but their eyes never left Eris. They whispered her name, as if speaking it too loud would summon death. Eris, the destroyer, the deadliest woman. Daniel felt the weight of those whispers. He had freed her by mistake. Yet now he carried the burden of guiding her. If he made the wrong choice, if he spoke the wrong word, whole worlds might burn. Inside a council chamber, the conclave leaders sat around a long table. The scarred man who had greeted them stood at the head. He gestured for Daniel and Eris to sit. Daniel obeyed. Eris did not. She stood tall, her glowing eyes fixed on the men and women before her. We need your strength, the leader said directly. The rulers will not stop. They will gather fleets. They will unite against you. And when they come, they will not only try to kill you, they will erase anyone who stands near you. That means us too. Eris tilted her head slightly. You speak truth, but your truth is not honest, she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried like thunder. You do not fear them. You fear me. You hope to chain me with your cause. You hope to aim me at your enemies and call it alliance. The council members shifted uneasily. The leader tried to keep calm. We do not deny it. You are a weapon. We cannot pretend otherwise, but weapons can decide where they point. Can you? Eris smiled faintly. I can, but will I? That is the question you do not want to ask. The silence that followed was suffocating. Daniel finally spoke. Maybe we should not talk about chains or weapons. Maybe we should talk about survival. If fleets are coming, then fighting each other is useless. We have to stand together. The leader nodded, relief flashing across his face, but Eris's eyes shifted toward Daniel, sharp and searching. You speak as if your words matter, she said, but do you command me, human? Do you tell me who must live and who must die? Daniel froze, his chest tightened. He shook his head. No, I don't command you. Her eyes burned brighter. Then what are you to me? She asked softly. A voice without power, a hand that trembles, a shadow hiding behind hope. The conclave members looked at each other, whispers rising. Daniel felt the heat of their stares. He was losing control, losing ground. He knew he had to say something to hold her attention. I'm not your master, he said quickly, but I'm not your enemy either. If you really want to stay free, you can't just kill everyone who looks at you with fear. You need someone who sees more than your power, someone who reminds you of what you could be. Eris's smile faded. For a heartbeat, her expression softened, as if his words reached something buried deep, but it did not last. Her voice was quiet, sharp as ice. What I could be. I am what the stars made me. Do not dress war in pretty words. Daniel's throat tightened. He had tried to appeal to her humanity, but maybe humanity was never hers to begin with. Later, as they walked back toward the quarters given to them, Daniel felt the silence pressing harder than before. Finally, Eris spoke, her voice almost gentle. Why do you not command me? You could whisper a name, and I would erase it. You could point to your enemies, and they would vanish. No ruler could stand against you with me at your side. Daniel stopped walking, his fists clenched. He turned to her. Because that's not who I am. I don't want to win by slaughter. I don't want to become the same kind of monster they made you believe you are. Her eyes narrowed, glowing with faint light. She leaned closer, so close he could feel her breath. Monster, she repeated, her whisper cut through him. Do you think I'm a monster, human, or do you fear that I am only what you could become? Daniel's heart pounded. He had no answer. She studied his silence for a moment, then turned away, her voice trailed like a blade. Be careful with mercy. Mercy is only patience waiting to die. That night, Daniel could not sleep. Every shadow in the quarters felt like her gaze. Every creak of the ship felt like her whisper. He knew Eris was testing him, pulling at his mind, at his choices. She wanted him to command her to unleash her, and if he never did, he feared she might decide on her own who deserved to die. In the quiet, her earlier words echoed. Perhaps I should kill for myself, starting with you. Daniel lay awake, staring into the dark, and for the first time, he wondered if survival was worth carrying her shadow. The Free Conclave ship drifted through dark space, carrying whispers of fear wherever it traveled. Every port they visited was silent, eyes lowered. Every channel spoke the same rumor. The deadliest woman had returned, and fleets were gathering. Daniel could feel the weight of it with every passing day. The Conclave leaders tried to plan, tried to use Eris as their shield, but even they trembled in her presence. She was no ally, no tool. She was a storm they pretended to control. And Daniel knew storms could never be chained. One morning, the ship's alarm screamed. The crew ran to their stations. Daniel rushed to the bridge. The scanners lit up with red. Dozens of warships surrounded them in all directions, larger than anything he had seen before. The screen flashed with banners. The High Lords of the outer sectors, rulers who had once united against Eris centuries ago. Now their fleets burned across the stars, blocking every escape. A voice filled the comms, deep and cold. Eris, destroyer, you should have stayed in your tomb. This galaxy will not suffer you again. Today, your chains will return, and the human who freed you will die beside you. Daniel's stomach twisted. He looked at Eris. She stood at the center of the bridge, her expression calm. Her eyes glowed brighter than he had ever seen. They are afraid, she whispered. Afraid enough to unite, afraid enough to kill everything around me, just to keep me buried. The fleet opened fire. Beams of energy cut across the void. Missiles streaked like burning stars. The Conclave ship shuddered violently. Alarms blaring. Daniel grabbed the controls. But he knew the truth. There was no escape. The crew screamed. Shields breaking. Engines failing. The air grew thick with fear. Then Eris raised her hand. The ship stopped trembling. Her presence filled the bridge like fire and shadow. She stepped forward slowly, ignoring the chaos. Her voice was quiet, but every soul heard it. Stay behind me. The void outside twisted. Weapons fire bent away as if the stars themselves rejected it. Enemy ships faltered. Whole fleets hesitated as invisible pressure crushed them. Daniel's eyes widened. He could feel her power even inside his bones, like the air itself had turned heavy. The Lord's flagship fired a massive cannon, a beam large enough to split moons. Eris lifted both arms. The beam stopped mid-space, frozen like glass. Then, with a flick of her hand, it turned, crashing back into the flagship. The explosion burned brighter than suns. The enemy's pride shattered in seconds. But the other fleets did not retreat. They pressed forward. Thousands of weapons lit the void. The Conclave ship shook under the strain. Daniel felt his stomach twist. We can't hold. We'll be torn apart. Eris did not answer at first. Her gaze swept across the stars. Her body glowed with light that pierced the bridge windows. Then she spoke, soft and cold. If they want war, let them drown in it. She stepped through the glass, as if it were air, walking into the void. Her hair spread like dark fire. Her eyes burned like twin stars. The fleets rained destruction. But nothing touched her. She moved like a storm. Ships split apart. Their crews' screams cut short. Explosions painted the darkness with fire. Daniel gripped the console. Unable to move, his mind screamed at him to stop her, to say something, but his voice died in his throat. He could only watch as whole armies fell to her hand. Then, as the last of the flagship wreckage drifted past, her voice echoed inside his head, chilling and soft. Tell me, human, who dies last? Daniel's blood ran cold. She was asking him again, forcing him to choose, forcing him to speak. If he gave her a name, she would kill it. If he stayed silent, she might choose for herself. His hands shook, sweat on his face. He looked at the burning stars, at the fleets dying one by one, at the crew watching in horror. And he realized his choice was not about survival anymore. It was about what kind of future would remain when the storm was done. Eris hovered in the void, waiting, her voice pressed against him, patient and sharp. Who dies last? Daniel, speak, or I will decide for you. The stars burned red with wreckage. Broken fleets drifted like corpses in the dark. Eris hovered among them, her body glowing with power. Her voice echoed inside Daniel's head, sharp, patient, merciless. Who dies last? Daniel, speak, or I will choose. Inside the bridge, the conclave crew stared at him with wide, terrified eyes. Some whispered for him to name the lords. Others begged for silence. The weight of the galaxy pressed on his shoulders. If he spoke, he would unleash her without end. If he stayed silent, she would decide, and the universe would drown in blood. Daniel's hands trembled on the controls. His throat felt like stone. He looked out at her, at the goddess of destruction he had freed. Her power made her unstoppable, but her gaze always came back to him. She was waiting for his word. Finally, he forced breath into his lungs. His voice cracked, but he spoke. No one dies last. The words cut the air like a blade. For a moment, silence filled the void. Even the conclave crew froze, unable to believe what they had heard. Eris turned her head slowly. Her eyes glowed brighter. No one, she repeated. Her voice was low, dangerous. Do you deny me, human? Daniel stood, gripping the console. His voice shook, but he pressed on. Yes, I deny you. Killing will not end fear. It only feeds it. You think they chained you because you're strong, but they chained you because you let them believe death was all you were. If I tell you who dies last, then you will never stop. And there will be no last, only endless killing. Eris's expression was unreadable. She floated in the void, silent, the fires of battle reflecting in her eyes. For the first time, she did not move. She only stared. The conclave leader stepped forward, whispering urgently, You fool, command her, or we all die. But Daniel shook his head, his voice steadier now. No, she isn't a weapon, not unless we treat her like one. If she wants me to speak, then let my words be this. There is no last, because there will be no more. The silence stretched, unbearable. Then Eris's lips curved into the faintest smile. Not a smile of warmth, but of curiosity. Strange human, she whispered. You speak of mercy in the face of fire. You refuse to hold the torch, yet you will not drop it either. Her body dimmed, the glow around her fading. She lowered her arms. The surviving enemy ships, scattered and broken, turned and fled, not daring to continue the fight. The void grew quiet again. Only drifting wreckage left. Eris drifted back toward the ship, stepping through the shattered glass of the bridge as if it were air. She stood before Daniel, tall and terrible, but her eyes softer than before. You are different, she said. The others begged for death, begged for victory, begged for blood. You beg for nothing. Daniel swallowed hard. Because I don't want to rule through fear. I don't want to survive through slaughter. If I freed you, then let it mean something more than war. Her gaze searched him, long and slow. At last, she whispered, Perhaps I was wrong to call you mine. Perhaps you are something else. Perhaps you are choice. The conclave crew sagged in relief. Though their fear did not vanish. They had survived, but they knew the universe would not forget. Rumors would spread faster than light. Eris, the deadliest woman, was free, and she walked beside a single human who dared deny her. As Daniel sank into his chair, exhausted, Eris leaned close, her voice curling like smoke. Do not think this is the end. Human, you refused blood today, but the stars are full of enemies, full of fear, and when the time comes, when they corner you again, will your answer still be the same? Daniel met her eyes, his voice quiet but steady. Yes, it will. She studied him for a long moment, then turned toward the stars. Her whisper lingered in the silence. chilling yet curious. Then tell me, human, if not your enemies, whose blood shall I spill first when the time comes? The universe stretched before them, endless and dark, a storm at his side, and a choice in his hands.